Man, when a baseball team can hit home runs, the game is fun. It's a lot easier when that happens. You don't need as many hits. You can just pound the ball out of the park and have a good time.
You are Locked On Blue Jays, your daily Toronto Blue Jays podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jays. Thank you for making Locked On Blue Jays your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. From the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. As always, I'm Braden Iwasco. He's Carter First. You can find us on Twitter, Braden5Iwasco, Carter First too. As well, make sure you guys check out our big Twitter, the one we use for the channel, at Locked On Jays. As well, you can check out our Instagram and our TikTok at Locked On Blue Jays. If you're new here to YouTube or you're listening anywhere else, make sure you head over to the YouTube page. You drop a subscription. It helps us out a ton. We really appreciate it. Sorry about that. And also, you guys get your videos, your shorts, your podcasts, your live streams, the whole ordeal. So make sure you guys go and hit the subscribe button there. A lot to get into today. The team coming alive. The offense coming alive. Alan Roden hits his first big league home run. Awesome. Santander getting it going. The boys look good. We got to talk about the game, some injury updates, what's going to happen in game 3? What can we see happening in game 3? I want to do a little bit of looking back, Carter, just on what we said in yesterday's episode and how that related now to this game yesterday. So we'll get into all that. But Carter, I guess starting it off, how fun was it to see this team hit home runs for once?
It's definitely exciting. It's nice to see anyone on the Toronto Blue Jays launch home runs, but it's obviously very fun to see Alan Roden hitting his first major league home run, as you said, and then Anthony Santander, the guy that you paid to come in to do exactly what he just did. The first 3-run home run of the Toronto Blue Jays season goes to Anthony Santander, and exactly how you pictured it. You had Bichette on second base, you had Vladimir Guerrero Jr. on first base, did your two guys get on for your power hitter, and then he launches and kind of puts the game to bed, I think, at that point. After that, I felt like the Toronto Blue Jays were in the driver's seat. Didn't really feel like there was going to be a comeback mountain because you saw what Kevin Gausman was doing on the mound. Another great performance from your ace. Just a very big bounce back game. Because I was right about the Easton Lucas thing, but I did say that I thought the Toronto Blue Jays would struggle against Spencer Schwellenbach, and that's why, you can be right about some things and then be absolutely wrong about the next one. But they get to Spencer Schwellenbach and they get to him very quickly. And this is no bum on the mound whatsoever. Coming into this game, he had 20 innings pitched and a .45 ERA. So really no one was getting to Spencer Schwellenbach whatsoever. And that's kind of the way it looked throughout the start of this baseball game until, Alan Roden kind of ignites the offense with a backside double off of a cutter and then comes up again, obviously launching that home run. And that was the big inning for the Toronto Blue Jays. So overall, just a very good game and kind of going not exactly the way I expected it, but I'm definitely happy with this 1-1 series split that we're going into. And then the grudge match, obviously, tomorrow with Chris Bassitt and Spencer Schneider going on the mound. So not going to get a whole lot easier. But again, I'm pretty happy with, I guess you could say, the way things have gone overall about the series.
Yeah, the interesting thing is this is, I think one thing the team can pride themselves on throughout this season was not just scoring runs in one inning. It was a little bit different from what we saw last year. Last year was if they didn't have one big inning where they scored a massive amount of runs, they weren't going to score again. This team hasn't been like that all year. This game was a little bit like that. All their runs came in I believe it was the 5th. And
other than the Alan Roden on the hit from Vladdy. But yeah, we'll go into that further.
Yeah. And you know what? They score massive amounts of run in that 5th inning where they put up the 5 spot, and it's a little bit different. You don't see this team have success all game long or in a couple different points. It's one inning, and that scares me because again, I think you need to have your offense buzzing throughout an entire game. It can't just be a blip. But I think this overtakes that because you were able to get the home run power. And it was from a guy that you expected the home run power to come from. And I think that's a big thing too, getting Anthony Santander's bat going. As we know, he starts season slow. We said that right from the beginning of this year, that it was going to come, it was going to come, it was going to come. He now has 2 home runs in the season. And I think he's now looking more like Anthony Santander. The Alan Roden home run, Carter, was unbelievably awesome. It was the spark to this offense. That's what Alan Roden was today. That was needed. And sometimes you need it from the bottom of the order. He did in the post-game interview with Hazel May afterwards, and she asked him that question. how do you feel like the bottom of the order is done this season? And he said some games, you need those guys to be able to pick up and pass the torch and keep things rolling. And the bottom of the order so far this season has done way more than that. They have been the driving force of this offense. So that's great to see. And again, we got to talk a little bit about Bichette as well. Or Kevin Gausman a little bit as well. But I think overall right now, Carter, I'm just very happy with this win because we go back to yesterday's game, and I think we saw that the Braves outside of Easton Lucas really didn't have a plan of attack against the back or against the rest of the two guys that came in Barnes and Yariel Rodriguez. So the one thing I was looking to see out of this game was the fact that could the pitcher shut them down? And outside of 3 solo shots, they did their job. They gave their offense an opportunity to win the ball game, and that came through today. I said if they can get to Schwellenbach a little bit, then you know what? It sets you up way easier for the rest of the game, and they were able to get that done eventually. So I sort of think what we were talking about yesterday's episode of the podcast about being, the little things that you can pick up from game 1 and how that relates now to game 2 and 3. I think we saw that come to fruition here. And the offense honestly looked better than the Braves offense. Yes, they got some power. They got some guys that can push the ball over the fence. But, when you get 2 home runs, that is going to help you win ball games when you have Kevin Gausman on the mound.
Because we had it flipped this time. The Atlanta Braves had more more hits than the Toronto Blue Jays. They also had more home runs than the Toronto Blue Jays, but the Blue Jays actually had runners on base. So the Atlanta Braves, you get those 3 home runs. In theory, you don't want to give up 3 home runs every single game. That can lead to a lot of damage down the road because you've got to assume that, down the road, some of those are going to have some runners on. But in the grand scheme of things, you give up 3 solo shots. That's not really going to hurt your team that badly, especially when you do have that 5-run inning from guys like Alan Roden having good at-bats, Bichette, Vladdy taking a tough pitch on the corner. Maybe got a little bit lucky there. Might have gotten a free ball 4 call there. But, we'll take that as Toronto Blue Jays fans, especially the umps, the way they have been recently towards us as Toronto Blue Jays fans. So that's not something we're going to apologize for whatsoever. But yeah, just those little things. Like we said, Kevin Gausman dominant on the mound. I'm going to save the pitching talk, I think, more so for segment 2. I'm going to focus on some of the offense. Just, again, going on Alan Roden, and not even just Alan Roden, the bottom of the order, like you said, being the main carrier of this offense. Miles Straw, this is something that's going to be overshot a little bit. I think nobody's going to talk about this. You see the Alan Roden home run after. Miles Straw had an unbelievable at-bat, the at-bat before that Alan Roden home run. So I think it was 8-9 pitches, singles into the outfield, exactly what you need to see from a guy, especially when you're going to turn the lineup over. Miles Straw hitting 8, Alan Roden hitting number 9. You're just expecting Alan Roden to try to get on base there, continue to move the order. You definitely continue to move on the order because he did obviously launch the ball into right field. But Alan Roden, Miles Straw, again, we talk about it. It seems like every single episode. Tyler Heineman, Will Wagner, no matter who it is at the bottom of this order, they are playing unbelievable and they are producing like we couldn't have imagined going into the season. We can't ask for anything more from this bottom of the order. And now we're starting to see a little bit of spotlight peeking through the cracks a little bit here with some of these Anthony Santander at-bats. Bichette's kind of been showing us this entire year. There's still a lot to be desired from Vladimir Guerrero Jr. That's something I do want to touch on as we get through into this episode. But with the bottom of the order, it's like as soon as we start getting, again, this is something that we talked about a lot, and we gotta, eventually it needs to happen. We can't just keep waiting for it. But it's very easy to get excited about the future when the bottom of the order is hitting like this, and again, the top of the order, when you have all that power, you have all of that stardom from your top 3 guys, you got to assume they're going to turn it on at some point.
Yeah, and that's a big thing, right? You want to have you need to have success from the bottom of your lineup. Good baseball teams have success all throughout. And we're getting to a point now in this season. Yes, it is still early. It is. But at some point, when are we going to have to stop saying that it's fluky or that you can't rely on this all season? Well, it's been here since the start of the year. At some point, we're going to have to stop saying that this is a fluke, that this bottom of the lineup is getting hits and producing offense out of nowhere. Well, maybe this is just how the Toronto Blue Jays are going to look this season. That's a possibility. And I don't know. I think it's still a little bit early, but we're getting to that point of me starting to believe that this team can produce offense right throughout their lineup. Do you sort of feel the same way? Or are you a little bit like, hey, it's too early to call?
See, this is where I'm at with the it's too early stuff. When you talk about the stats, you talk about hot starts, cold starts. That's when you can say it is early. But when we're just looking at the quality of at bats that these bottom of the order guys are having, you can't really say that it's just early and they're having quality at bats early. That's not going to be good for them down the stretch. Yes, it will be, obviously. Like when the quality of at bat is not going to change as the season progresses. When you have guys that know the strike zone, you have guys that are taking good pitches, swinging at the right pitches, aren't chasing often. And that's what we're seeing from guys, especially like the young guys, Alan Roden, Will Wagner, who got these guys have Will Wagner's under 50 service games in the MLB. Alan Roden has only played in the major leagues this year, and his at-bats look phenomenal. Tyler Heineman, the Tyler Heineman, Miles Straws, when you haven't, again, seen a lot of the past success, those at-bats still look good. But that's something you do have to weigh is the past success and have these guys had success in the past. Because you look at Easton Lucas, there's probably a reason why he hasn't had that break at the major leagues. He's 28 years old. You know, like we kind of talked about that blow up start or that hiccup kind of coming, where I could see that a bit more for Miles Straw and guys like Tyler Heineman. But for the quality of at bats that young guys like Will Wagner and Alan Roden are having, yes, there's going to be some hiccups as other teams start to, again, get that scouting report and see what their weaknesses are. But right now, the quality of at bats, just how good they look at the plate, how confident they look at the plate, I feel like that's something that could transpire throughout the entire season. It could only go up from here.
Yeah, Carter. And you know what? We got to take a quick break, but I want to come back with just another piece on Alan Roden before we get into the pitching of it all and how that went over. But I do want to talk about this. So I'm going to save it for the beginning of segment 2. So make sure you guys stick around. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back with that.
Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Basketball and hockey playoffs are heating up, and there's no better way to turn your sports knowledge into real rewards than with Prize Picks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you can simply pick more than or less than on at least 2 player stat projections, and you're in. You can even combine players across sports, basketball and hockey, hockey and baseball, football and basketball, and much more for your chance to win up to 200 or 2,000 times your cash. Here's what I pick in this week. I always obviously have to go with my Toronto Blue Jays. I either go with the fantasy or I go with the Toronto Blue Jays stuff. I got Vladimir Guerrero Jr. more than 1.5 bases. And I also have Bichette more than 1.5 bases. I'm really going with the top of the lineup today. Another good thing about Prize Picks is that they always have these random promotions as well. They have like a Taco Tuesday that discounted player projections up to 25% for even more value. So they had stuff that you did like with those boosted projections. That's something that I always like to go to. And they also have this other thing called Demons and Goblins, whereas Demons they have it as a little wild. They're harder to win, but the lineup qualifies for higher payouts. Whereas Goblins, they love the green. They love to win. They're easier to win, but come with the lower payout multiplier. So it depends on how you're feeling that day. If you're feeling lucky, you might go with the Demon bet. If you just want to get one of those wins, see one go through for you, you could go with one of those Goblins. Kind of depends on how your Prize picks are going at that time. Download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Carter, going back to what I said just about Alan Roden, and I think what was really nice to see is you saw him loosen up after that home run. It was like a weight was lifted off his shoulders a little bit. He was having more fun at the plate. He was taking bigger swings. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing for Alan Roden, and we will see moving forward. Because that at bat didn't look great. He looked like he was not nervous, but it looked like he was excited. You could feel the joy in his at bat there. So again, wait and see what happens with Alan Roden moving forward, and if he's going to now have to take a step back from, swinging out of his shoes, or hopefully he doesn't get into that and he just falls right back into the Alan Roden he was, but it may be a little looser. I think that's a good thing for a young kid coming up, playing in his first season in the MLB. I think that's a really good thing. And I do want your opinion on something else, so you got to throw it back to me after this. But Alan Roden, I guess, just becoming a little bit more free in his swinging. How do you feel about that?
Obviously, you don't want your rookie to just be like going up and trying to hit home runs literally every single time. But I think a lot of that's just like part of the excitement, part of this being a new experience for Alan Roden. Like we said, the Toronto Blue Jays, they're 9-8 now, or are they 10-8? They're 2 games above 500, I believe. Now it's 18 games. So Alan Roden's only played 18 baseball games. So clearly a lot of these experiences are still brand new to him. He hit his first, obviously, home run. I think that was his first double as well. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. So obviously a big day for Alan Roden. I think a lot of it was just the excitement. I think that as we get throughout the year, he'll be a lot more calm in these situations. He'll just get used to the ball game, used to being with the major league club. So I think with Alan Roden, just gotta have to work through a lot of these growing pains. But the last thing I'll bring up with Alan Roden, I will throw it back to you after that, is the contact play they had on with Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Obviously, you don't want Vladimir in that situation. He hits a chopper. That's not the ideal situation, especially when you have this $500 million player coming up to the plate. You kind of want a fly ball, something a little bit more traditional to drive in this guy. But Alan Roden showing off that sneaky speed, which a lot of people don't really talk about with Alan Roden. They have the contact play on. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hits a chopper. I think there's obviously a little bit lucky there that Austin Riley has to jump to get the ball. It's probably a lot closer of a play, even though it was a close play already, if Austin Riley doesn't have to jump for that ball. But just the speed that Alan Roden just displayed on that play, the confidence, as soon as he sees that ball hit, he had there's no warning sign in the back of his head. He just knew he had to go right at that time. Obviously, hustles down the line, does score the first run of the game for the Toronto Blue Jays. It's not going to be pretty every single time. Sometimes you're going to have to get down and dirty and score runs like that. And that was a great play from both Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Alan Roden.
Yeah, no, you needed it. Yeah, absolutely needed it. And it was his second double. The other one, it was hit down the left field side, and he scored a double, or he got a double on that. But it was his second of the year there. But yeah, you're right. And you know what? You brought up Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And I mean, we're gonna have to talk about this guy eventually, and probably the power just as it comes with this team, and what we can expect maybe in a later episode as well. But something happened in the game. Vlad took a ball inside and did a little dance. I don't know if you saw that. It was like a little like hip shimmy shake that he did. And on the broadcast, they go, "Oh, well, you can tell Vlad's getting more comfortable at the plate doing something like that." And this is one of those things that to me is, and to you is probably he's having fun, let him have fun. To me, I'm like, and it was on one of his walks that he ended up taking. I didn't love that, but I'm like, I'm fine with it, like whatever. But I was like, oh, I don't know. It just gave me a little bit of like, as the girls on TikTok would say, gave me a little bit of the ick, Carter.
See, I think with that kind of stuff, it's a lot easier for players to, express themselves and kind of have fun on the baseball field when things are going better for them. Like if Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has an 1100 OPS and he could probably do a front flip on the diamond, and you're not going to say a whole lot about him. It's that things just aren't necessarily going well right now. I think like the quality of a bat with Vladimir Guerrero Jr., we talk about that with some of these younger players. Like Vladimir Guerrero Jr., look at his baseball savant. He's still hitting the ball hard.
Yeah,
he doesn't look like he's swinging. He's taking bad swings. Like the at-bats look good right now. You're just not really seeing that production. So I think for me, when I saw that, again, I kind of just brushed over it. It's hard to look at when, Vladdy doesn't have that home run. He's not hitting for that power that you're expecting from him. And also with the contract negotiations and all of that being kind of thrown into our face as well. A lot of Blue Jays fans not necessarily happy with Vladdy because of these contract negotiations. And just with it being so fresh, you pay a guy, the third highest contract in MLB history, $500 million. He doesn't have a home run yet. It's not going to be something that you're going to be typically excited to see him, getting excited and doing some dances on the baseball field when you're not seeing that home runs, you're not seeing the power bat. So I think that's where a lot of it does stem from me. I'm more typical than you are to brush over these like have fun moments for the Toronto Blue Jays. Because last time that I had fun watching the Toronto Blue Jays, I guess minus from this year, I had the most fun, I should say, is in 2021 when the Toronto Blue Jays, you had Teoscar Hernandez, you had Lourdes Gurriel. Not a very serious baseball team, and sometimes that did hurt the Toronto Blue Jays. That's when I had a lot of fun watching baseball at that time.
Yeah, no, and I got nothing bad to say about this season. Like that was just one moment that I thought was like and honestly, out of baseball. It was just like one of them. It wasn't even like the like I just had to give it a little snarl. I was like, what are you doing? But like whatever. That's Vladdy, and Vladdy can honestly, he's going to start producing, and I'm going to say Vlad can do whatever he wants.
And I think with Vladdy as well, like he almost plays better when he's goofing off a little bit, when he has that confidence, when he's confident enough to, give a little shimmy, give a little fist bump, something like that. You see Vladdy being bland on the baseball field, I feel like that's probably not going to be a good situation for the Toronto Blue Jays and Vladimir Guerrero Jr.
Yeah, and you know what? And I know we're going to talk about Bichette as well, and we're going to talk about them a ton, and however this entire season. Seeing way more personality out of Bichette this season. I don't know what has changed necessarily, or maybe it's just not as hasn't been shown because the team has not done as well as they have wanted to. Way more personality. Him having fun with Vladdy in the dugout. Like I saw him like flicking his ear the other day on the broadcast, and another like just little things like he was getting upset with himself when he didn't have the at bat he wanted to. Way more personality in Bichette, and I'm all here for it. Like because what I like about Bo Bichette this season anyway is he is serious when he's at the plate. You can see when he's upset, when he's angry, but then he can have fun, but not in a take me out of baseball sort of way. It's the in the dugout stuff. I'm okay with that. This season of Bo Bichette with the attitude he's bringing to the field, I really like whatever has transpired. I'm all here for it.
Yeah, I got two reasons why I think this is happening. The first one is Bo's in a contract year. I think with Bo Bichette, that's not as much the personality thing. It's just what, like, Bo Bichette, getting a little, maybe be seeing a little more serious in his at bats. So he has a contract year. Obviously, he's trying to make money at the end of the season, whether that's with the Toronto Blue Jays, whether that's in free agency. Bo Bichette, obviously, is a big year for him with his contract, with his career, just everything regarding Bo Bichette is a big monumental moment in your life. But the second thing is why I think we're seeing a lot more personality from Bo Bichette, him kind of open up a little bit, is that what do we talk about on this podcast very early on? We talk about the different feel that we're seeing from the Toronto Blue Jays this year compared to last year. If we're feeling that on this podcast, we're feeling that watching the Toronto Blue Jays, you got to feel like they're feeling that in the dugout, feeling that in their day-to-day routines. There's a different feeling in that dugout, in that clubhouse, there's more motivation, just a different feel. Everyone is more serious right now. And I feel like the Toronto Blue Jays, they don't want to, they found out how 2024 went. They effed around and found out, I'm not going to say the full thing. They didn't like it, obviously. We didn't like it as Toronto Blue Jays fans either. They don't want it to go that exact same way again in 2025, and it hasn't been so far. It's been a lot better, and I think you can show just by the way they're playing and acting on the baseball field.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like, really, this is the first moment of Vlad that I saw a little bit of having fun. Not having fun. I just think it was one moment. Like, I love when Vlad has personality on the baseball field. I'm all for personality. This is the only time that it took me away from the game. That's what I want to say. Whereas Bo Bichette, I'm good. Whatever you guys want to do in the dugout. I mean, Chris Bassitt's, chatting with guys. Guys are having fun. Davis and Ernie are chatting with Alan and whatever. I love that kind of stuff because I was the same way. But then when I get on the field, it was business time, right? And Bo Bichette is giving me that personality plus it's time to get down to business attitude. And I love that. And honestly, for the most part, Vladdy is, and this whole team is as well. And I don't know if that's from bringing in guys, some veterans. I don't know if that's these guys growing up a little bit and coming into their own as baseball players. I don't know what it is, but you're right. The feeling has changed around this team this season. And I know we went back to last game and it wasn't the feeling of, oh, this was a bad loss. This was I understand this loss. And I think that's the difference is it wasn't a complete team collapse. It wasn't the offense, like nothing was there. It's just different. And I almost don't know how to feel. And maybe let us know in the comments how you guys feel about this as well. Do you have a different feeling a little bit around this baseball team this year? I guess it's pretty easy to in comparison to last year, because last year you knew this team was just not going anywhere early on, whereas this team gives you a little bit of hope early on. So I guess let us know what you guys think about that as well. And like I said, I'm a big personality guy on the diamond. I want to see it get a little upset. I love when you see Max Scherzer losing his mind in the dugout because of a bad call. That's Max Scherzer, right? That's the guy I want to see. I want to see the want to win out of these guys, and not just the anger, but the excitement, the fun, the competitiveness, I guess. And I think that's what's changed for me this year is I'm seeing the competitiveness in this ball club.
Well, and the biggest thing that has changed this year, the Toronto Blue Jays just seem to be winning a lot more early on as well. And winning does solve a lot of things, obviously. But you brought up an interesting point there, actually, that you like people that when they get pissed off on the mound, you like when they show that competitiveness. I'm on that exact same fence as well. But I think when you see the people getting pissed off on the mound, they see that competitiveness. I think you got to kind of take it with the flip side as well. When things do go well, they have a little bit of that goofiness as well. I think you got to let players express themselves, whether it's going very well or whether it's going very bad. So that's why I don't mind necessarily when players are kind of goofing off. Like, obviously, you can't be goofing off while you're on the bases and then get picked off at second base or something like that. That's not something that I'm going to be fired up about. But like in the dugout, or if that little shimmy that Vladimir Guerrero Jr. did, I think with that, as soon as these players are expressing themselves, I think that's where they do show a lot more confidence. And I think you got to take the good with the bad on that stance. But I'll
Yeah.
give you one more chance to, to kind of give your opinion on that. But I do want to talk about Kevin Gausman after this.
Yeah, for sure. No, I know we sort of went off a tangent as we always do. But no, and I agree with you. But you know what? Like I said, I think there's baseball moments for excitement and goofiness on the diamond. I understand that. There's some things that just take me away from the game. And I feel like that was one of them. And that I saw a lot of that out of Vlad in the last couple of years. This year has not been the same. I will say that Vlad's goofiness is more in the dugout or when it comes to a baseball play, him talking with guys, when they hit a single or something like that. And I'm all for that stuff, all for the stuff that is a part of baseball. And you can absolutely go out there and have fun because you can have fun. You can be competitive. You can be serious in certain moments. And I'm all for all of that. It's just the little things. So, when a pitcher comes up the mound, they're excited and they give one of those. I love that stuff. I love the intensity. I love the excitement. I love when guys are having fun and, the outfield goes after a win, does their little hops and whatever else, stuff like that. I'm all for. It was just a weird one that just took me a little bit out of the game. And I think that's where I have a little bit of, and it's not really like a angry. It's not like, oh, what are you doing? It's more just like what's going on here sort of thing. I don't really know how to express it. It just gave me a little bit of a nose turn, I guess, to it.
Yeah, let us know if your noses were turning in the comment section like Braden's was, but I do want to get into Kevin Gausman. I think I said my piece on the Vladimir Guerrero Jr. stuff. We'll see how things go throughout the season. Again, if he continues to goof off and things don't go well, then, we might have a different problem, but it's Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Blue Jays paid him $500 million for a reason. I think they think he's a pretty good baseball player. We think he's a pretty good baseball player as well. I think the tides are going to turn. And just one more thing, which we remember Vladimir Guerrero Jr. from last season. I don't think it started this slow with the home runs, but he didn't hit a lot of home runs in April either. And he really picked up when he actually cut his hair, which I believe was at the end of June. So hopefully we see that from Anthony Santander and Vladimir Guerrero Jr. once again this year. We saw what happened with both of their seasons after they had a little bit of a slow April. So a lot more time, obviously, ahead for the Toronto Blue Jays. But we have been saving this for a little while. Kevin Gausman, we'll keep this a little bit shorter than we were going to. One thing I wanted to hammer home is just Kevin Gausman being very aggressive with the strike zone, which we saw Easton Lucas do yesterday. But we saw it go a lot more well for Kevin Gausman. We saw things go better for Kevin Gausman. And I think that's why Easton Lucas and why pitchers do this in general, is that when you get ahead in the count, when you get ahead early on, it inspires hitters to be more aggressive, and it allows your secondary pitches to just be that much better. If you get guys that are being aggressive at the plate, especially with Kevin Gausman, you have that splitter that is so good. You have that slider that can be used as well. He was throwing that a lot more against right-handed pitchers than I think we're accustomed to seeing, just to give him a little bit of a different look. But with Kevin Gausman attacking hitters early on, when you don't get absolutely obliterated by these hitters early on, it tends to go pretty well from Kevin Gausman. Again, not walking anyone today. Absolutely love to see it. And the command with the fastball is something that we are noticing very early on this season. And that is just elevating all of his other pitches. When you hammer that fastball and you have good command on that fastball, it's going to elevate the splitter. It's going to elevate the slider. And we've been seeing that very early on from Kevin Gausman. Returning to that ace form that we're accustomed to seeing from Kevin Gausman in 2023. Just very excited to see Kevin Gausman just balling out early on, and excited to see him, pitch 26 more times. A lot more Kevin Gausman we're going to see this year.
Yeah, this is, and I don't got a lot to say on this, to be honest. This is the Kevin Gausman that me and you talked about in the offseason that we expected to show up this year. And he's been exceptional. I have no complaints with Kevin Gausman, and I don't know if I ever really did. This guy is an absolute beast. He's a dog, and you know what? Let him eat. I love it. So I don't got a ton more for you, to be honest with you. I mean, I know we got an Nathan Lucas stuff to go into, plus a little bit of injury updates. So we will get into all of that in the third segment because it does affect this team moving forward, especially with Daulton Varsho potentially coming back soon as well. So we'll talk about all that. But Carter, I guess just to cap things off, Flew Hardy, not the best day. It wasn't what I didn't hate it, but it felt shaky is what I'll say. Sandlin comes in, whatever. It was a third of an inning. And then Brendan Little comes in. He looked good. And then Chad Green, gives up the bomb. But at the end of the day, I thought the bullpen did again a pretty decent enough job. Or I'll say a decent enough job today, especially since they didn't use two of their biggest guys. So that's great as well.
Oh yeah, for tomorrow you got to hope Chris Bassitt goes 7 innings. Then you got Yimi Garcia and Jeff Hoffman, your best two bullpen arms, to kind of take care of business against the Atlanta Braves and win yourself a series. Last thing I just wanted to go into, there's just one more stat about Kevin
Sure.
Gausman. 14
Yeah.
whiffs today. Just again, when you've seen the whiffs from
That's
Kevin
right.
Gausman, a lot of them coming off the fastball again, which is interesting to see early on. But that's just going to elevate his splitter that much more. Yeah, some of the things we want to get into. I've been wanting to talk about Nathan Lucas in this situation. We kind of had some clarity on it today. Obviously, with him being thrown on the paternity list, but we're still going to go over that. And then just some other stuff that we want to go into. There's some stuff that we would want to talk about, but obviously with us yapping and we have so much information that comes in every single day, sometimes we do have to push things to the wayside, but still a bunch more information that we do want to present to you guys, and all that is going to come up in just a few moments.
Today's episode brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing better than catching an MLB game live. The crack of the bat, the roar of the crowd, and the smell of the ballpark food. And if you're looking to go last minute, Game Time makes getting tickets easier than ever. Trust me on this one. I like I said, I use Game Time for legitimately every ticket I buy. If it was when we went to New York, I tickets through Game Time. If it was when we went to Toronto, tickets to Game Time. Was when I went to Minneapolis, tickets on Game Time, because they're cheap. They're all in pricing. And that's a big one for me. I cannot stand when I buy tickets and there's an extra fee added on when I go to the checkout. Game Time makes sure you knows exactly how much you're going to pay. Plus, they have the lowest price guaranteed. So why would you argue with it, right? It really is the best place to buy your tickets. It's where I honestly all of my friends go to buy their tickets, all my family members, and they use our code Locked On MLB. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On MLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDON MLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Carter, I'll let you hop right into things. I know you got sort of the whole story, the whole background on some of these injuries, some of the Nathan Lucas story. I know on the Nathan Lucas part of it, I got some stuff to say. You got some stuff to say. And I mean, we're taking the episode long again. So let's get right to it.
Yeah, I'm going to start by firing off just some of the injury stuff. This did come out a little bit earlier on in the week, but still obviously applies because it all applies either over the weekend or next week. So Blue Jays center fielder Daulton Varsho has ramped up to the 200-foot throwing program and is expected to play a full go defensive game in extended spring games earlier next week. So pretty much just actually going to get in defensively next week, which is the huge problem with Daulton Varsho is that you want to see how that shoulder holds up. You want to see if he can throw the ball from the outfield. So that is going to be something to keep an eye on. We do have Erik Swanson here with the elbow injury, is expected to face live hitters early next week. So that is either Monday or Tuesday. That is what they're planning on. A rehab assignment could follow soon after. Ryan Burr threw a bullpen, but it is known that he is just slightly behind Erik Swanson. So he's going to follow that same timetable, but it looks like he's either half a week to a week away from Erik Swanson. So we'll get Erik Swanson back, probably get Ryan Burr at some point the week after. And the last one is the Max Scherzer stuff. He continued to throw on this last Saturday after undergoing some imaging in Baltimore on the Friday. Did get that second opinion on the thumb. So we're still looking to get some updates over there. Expect Easton Lucas to probably make the next start as well in the rotation. But the Nathan Lucas stuff, this is something that I wanted to talk about yesterday. Obviously, ran out of time, and we got a little bit more clarity about it today. But it was a tweet from Hazel May that I couldn't believe when I saw it. I had to tell Brandon about it right away, and we're going to talk about it obviously on the podcast. So Hazel May tweets that outfielder Nathan Lucas' wife, Taylor, is in labor with their second child. And this is during the first game of the Atlanta Braves series. A baby boy, Taylor, is giving birth in Arizona. Lucas told me that he'll get updates, if any, during the game from the player relations department, as well as the Blue Jays doctor. My first thought is, why are you not there? Why are you not with your kid? I know it's your second-born kid. Maybe you don't care about the second-born as much. It's not as important as the first one. Unfortunate for me. I mean, good for you, Braden, I guess. But just didn't make a lot of sense. I couldn't really imagine why you wouldn't be with your wife. That was, having your second child.
Yeah, dude, I don't know. That's wild. That's wild. And don't get me wrong. We talked about some reasons that this could be, right? You don't want to be sent down, right? You don't want to be told that, hey, your spot's been filled. But at the same time, there's baseball and then there's life, right? Like, I don't know. Me and you both don't have kids, as of right now, thank goodness. I couldn't imagine that. That's wild. What? And great, he's gone now. That's good. Good for him. And I'm, happy for his family, but just a crazy situation for you for a player not to go see his wife in labor. I don't know. And I get it's the job and you want to make sure that your spot is there. But I think the Blue Jays would be pretty understanding that, your wife's in labor. But I don't know.
It's a pretty cutthroat business. So I kind of understand. Like, that's the only thing that can make sense in my head. That's why Nathan Lucas wouldn't, go be with your wife when you're having your second child being born. But it's because Daulton Varsho is coming back. Obviously, I just gave you guys the update. It still looks like it is about a week or so away. So it sounds like Nathan Lucas should be back from the paternity list quicker than Daulton Varsho would be back. But especially when you have that tough play getting picked off at third base, not again in the greatest mindsets with Toronto Blue Jays fans, with the front office, obviously. And there is going to be a corresponding move that needs to be made. It's either probably going to be Nathan Lucas, David Schneider, or Miles Straw. You got an outfielder coming back. You're probably not going to send Will Wagner down. So obviously, there's only so many spots on a major league roster. If you're Nathan Lucas, you never really had that extended service time in the major leagues. Obviously, a very big deal for him. So probably a very tough decision that he needed to make. Good thing he finally did go out there, because that's not something that you did want to miss. I think you probably would end up regretting that you missed that moment, because he could play in another 500 baseball games. Your son isn't being born every single day. So at the end of the day, I think he did make a good decision. But I'm wondering if maybe it was more from the wife, maybe it was his mom that said something, or maybe, one of his teammates just like, hey, dude, go be with your wife right now. I would love to see what kind of went into these conversations that happened with Nathan Lucas.
Yeah. And you know what? I do get it, because I think me and you had this conversation a little bit off camera. You can't send Miles Straw. You can't. He has been playing so well. You cannot do it. Obviously, Tyler Heineman has to be there. And David Schneider, maybe he's the guy that deserves to be sent down the most right now. But I just don't think that that's going to happen. I think Nathan Lucas is the odd man out. And yes, you hate to say that, because David Schneider, and again, love David Schneider. He hasn't been the guy right now. So maybe it is him, but I think it's him or Nathan Lucas. And I don't think there's any argument that can be had between any of the other, or either of the other two guys.
It's going to depend what the Toronto Blue Jays end up weighing, because with Nathan Lucas, I think Nathan Lucas is playing better than David Schneider right now. But David Schneider can play the infield, so that doesn't bode well for Nathan Lucas. However, David Schneider has options. Nathan Lucas does not have options. So the Toronto Blue Jays decide that they want to cut ties with Nathan Lucas. They're going to have to DFA him. He's not going to be on the team anymore. Whereas if you send David Schneider down, you still have some options. You can't obviously pull him back up. But then what do you do with the infield is the question. You're probably going to have Ernie, Clement, and Will Wagner playing every single day. You have Tyler Heineman on the bench, and then you have just a bunch of outfielders where you don't really have a ton to do with them. So I don't think it makes a lot of sense, keep Nathan Lucas, then you also have Miles Straw, then you have Daulton Varsho there, George Springer, obviously Anthony Santander you're going to want to play. I think just it creates a lot of traffic with your bench role. So it's going to be an interesting decision that they do need to make. And also now that Addison Barger is here, maybe he is thrown into the mix. Maybe that's another guy that, since he's already here, maybe they're more likely to keep him up with the team. So a bunch of things that obviously are going to have to consider. But at the end of the day, if it is David Schneider, if it is Nathan Lucas, if it is Addison Barger, is it going to be this massive, this is a huge mistake here, they shouldn't have picked this guy, shouldn't have picked that guy? At the end of the day, I don't think the production is going to matter too much from one of these positional players that's just going to be coming off the bench anyway.
Yeah, I agree. And like we've said, we've taken this episode long, as we always do. So we appreciate you guys listening or watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you're sticking around this long, we do appreciate it. We didn't get into the fantasy stuff. We usually like to give you guys an update on how the league is going. I'm getting smoked. Tanner
Houck is a bum.
Yeah, Tanner Houck sucks. And that's how we'll leave the podcast. As always, appreciate everything that you guys all watching, commenting, everything. Make sure you leave your comments down below. We always love to read those and see those and respond or talk about them on the podcast. But we'll talk to you guys later.